This week, we found out inflation remains at a 40-year high, having risen 13.7% since Biden became president. Real wages have decreased by 4.5%. Americans are suffering. Are we here debating how to alleviate that suffering? No. We are debating what Democrats call the Inflation Reduction Act, which everyone from the Congressional Budget Office to 230 different economists, even Senator Bernie Sanders, says will not actually reduce inflation. When you strip away the fake sunset policies, this bill spends $745 billion and adds $146 billion to our debt. It adds $54 billion worth of debt just in the first 5 years. And 80% of their, quote, budget deficits don't even begin until after the year 2029. So lots of spending up front, lots of debt up front, and then maybe savings 8 years from now? How is that going to put out the fire of inflation when the price of groceries is up 13.1% over the past year? Senators Manchin and Schumer, Secretary Yellen, and former President Obama are all on record saying you don't raise taxes during a recession. But that is exactly what this bill does. It includes $599 billion in new taxes and budget gimmicks. Half of the tax burden falls on taxpayers making less than $400,000 a year. The choice this bill puts in front of families making less than $200,000 is clear. Put the government at the center of your health care decisions or face a $10 billion tax burden. But it gets worse. This bill doubles the size of the IRS. It doubles the size of the IRS so it can target and audit more middle-class families and snoop into their bank accounts. Not sure how subjecting Americans to more audits solves the inflation crisis. In my home state of Missouri, this bill would quadruple the number of audits, 18,000 more audits on hard-working Americans who make less than $200,000 a year. Of course, that's not the only point of this bill. This is about Democrats' Green New Deal agenda. My colleagues on the other side will come down here today not to talk about inflation, not to talk about gas prices, but to instead talk about the hundreds of billions of dollars that's being spent on radical environmental projects. And you know what? They will be exactly right. Half of the spending, over $400 billion, goes to things like $3.4 billion for tree equity. Tree equity. That surely is going to bring down the gas prices. $7.5 billion for new luxury electric vehicles, tax credits for families who make up to $300,000 a year. That should definitely curtail inflation. $27 billion for a national climate bank slush fund at the EPA. That should definitely help our supply chain crisis. A $362 million handout to corporate America to make their offices, buildings much greener. That will definitely help secure our southern border. Democrats believe they can spend their way out of inflation and tax their way out of recession. It will only make the suffering Americans face today that much worse. This bill is simple. It is welfare for the wealthy, environmentalists, and big corporations, paid for by increased taxes and audits on middle and low-income taxpayers. These hard-working Americans are the ones that have been forgotten under the one-party Democrat rule in Washington. The Washington and wealthy elite win again. I reserve the balance of my time.